In the last tutorial, we did the animation for our ad. And so now what we're going to do is the last big step, which is adding a button that opens up a website and then publishing our Swift file or our Flash animation. So the first thing we need to do is create a new layer. If you click on the top layer and then you click on create a new layer, it will move that new layer to the top, which is really nice. Now this is going to be my web button, or I can even just say www button btn, because that way I know what it's gonna do, what that layer is for. And the next thing I want to do is click on the rectangle tool over on the right hand side, and we want to do a couple things about this particular object. Now it should be showing me the different settings of that object, but it doesn't want to. There we go. It was being a little glitchy. One thing to be aware of is that you do want to go ahead and give it a fill color before you draw it. The stroke color is really not important, but the fill color is definitely important for this. Now I'm not going to be too worried about the exact size, so I'm going to actually even draw this bigger than my advertisement is. The reason I'm doing this is because it doesn't matter if it actually fits. Now I'm going to go immediately back to selection tool, and with this object selected, I'm going to right click and choose convert to symbol. Now the type of symbol that we're going to be using is what's called a button symbol. So we'll click on the button symbol and let's give it a name. I'm going to call it my www button. And the next thing is just hit OK. Now to know if this is a button, you don't really know until you look at your properties over here, but I'm going to double click on this and you'll see that I get a very special type of timeline for this button. It says up, over, down, and hit. These are the different 4 states of a button. Well, we're going to do kind of an old school hidden button, and what it means is it's an invisible button in Flash. All we do is we click on that first keyframe and we drag it out to the hid state. Now, it doesn't look any different here, but as soon as we go back to scene 1, you'll see that it turns kind of this bright blue and we can see through it. That indicates to us that we have an invisible button, which means we have a hid state but no graphics that are visually going to show up. Now when we publish our file, we will not see this light blue. We only see it in the editing environment. So one of the things we can do is lock this and hide it or something like that, just so it doesn't get in our way. But we do want to still realize it's there. Now we also want this to open up a website. This happens to be an ad for Purina, so of course that's who we're going to go to. In order to do this, let's go to the window where it says Actions, and this is the Actions panel. I can close that little guy here because I'm not going to really need it, but we're going to create a action for this, and I think what we want is code snippets. And then let's see actions. I always forget which one to use. Yeah, click to go to a web page. I do all my coding manually, so I rarely use this. So we'll click on that or double click on it, and you'll see it comes up with a warning that says set the instance name of this, and it says button 1. Well, what we're going to do is www_btn, and then click OK. Now, you'll notice that it comes up with some comments in our code window. And this has written a whole bunch of code for us. We just don't have to know exactly what all that code means. However, we do need to change the important thing. Now, you'll notice we have what's called an event listener and function pair. But if you see mouse event.click, well, that must mean that when I click on this button, something's going to happen. And what's going to happen is it's going to navigate to a URL and it's going to request whatever we put right here. So we're going to change adobe.com to purina.com. And then blank means that it's going to open in a new blank window. So that's pretty much all we need to do. And then we can close this. And if we want to go ahead and save, I'm going to do this with www button. I'm saving mine with stages so I know what I've done. So now if we wanted to test this, we can use Control Enter like we've done before, do test movie, Control Enter, and you'll see now as we hover over it, we get that hand, and if we click on it, you'll see it even opens up a website. So it's actually working quite well. So we're ready to publish our HTML and our Flash. In order to do this, let's go ahead and output a number of different formats. So we're going to do File, Publish Settings, and we're going to take a look at a couple things. The first thing we have is a SWF file that we can output. We're going to go ahead and leave that just as it is. The next thing is the HTML wrapper. And this allows us to do things like detect Flash versions and all that. You'll see it will actually output a whole lot of code, but we're basically not going to touch anything. We're just going to leave it as it is. The next thing we're going to do, though, is click on this one where it says GIF image, and we're going to click on that, and we're going to say match the movie, and let's see, the colors. We can optimize the colors if we want, which is kind of cool. You have a lot of the same sort of things as you could do in Photoshop, of interlacing it and smoothing it and dithering it and all that kind of stuff. But we're basically just going to click on that and be okay. So now we'll click Publish, and you'll see it's actually going to write files. Now I'll just click OK and then save my document, because if I go back to the folder, you'll see it's saved out a few different things this time. Now what it's done is it saved out my animated GIF, which for some reason is blue, which I've got to figure out. It's got my animated with the W button and the SWF. Once again, this is only 58K. That's tiny. But if we double click on that HTML, we should be able to bring this animation up into a window and be able to play it. And of course, if we click on that, at least I would hope if we click on it, it's going to open up in a window. Come on. Should be opening up the Purina website. Oh, it could be the reason it's not allowing me to do it is because I'm on a local server. The only way it's going to work is if I'm testing it through the Flash file. It won't work until, if it works when you're using test movie, that's great, but it won't work when you're just testing the file off the desktop because of security issues. So I should have thought about that before. Anyway, my animated GIF, you'll see, did not work as well as I'd hoped. So this is an issue. What we're going to need to do is turn off that www button, and you'll see it actually made a new actions layer for us for the code that we added. So with this www button, I'm going to right click and choose guide. There you go. And what that does is that keeps it from actually exporting it. Let's try and publish that animated GIF again. Ah, there it is. Animated GIF, loop continuously. Now let's go ahead and publish that and see if we do a little bit better. Oh, look at that. Now it's coming up with an error because we've told it not to publish and it needed that file. This is the type of stuff that you always have to deal with Flash. You know what I could probably do is just turn off that guide and just tell it not to show. And if I hide it from there, it might work. Let's try it again. Publish settings. I'm going to be outputting an animated GIF. So let's publish this. Yep, and it did not turn it on. So that's good. That means now we have an animated GIF. You'll see it's not very good, but at least it's there. And you can see that we outputted an animated GIF from Flash. Now we could certainly edit the colors and try and get it until the point that we feel like it's going to work. So if I did adaptive, dither, diffusion, max colors is going to be, I'd guess 255. We'll just leave it there as it is. This is going to create a much larger file, but that actually looks pretty good. So we've output our Flash as an animated GIF as well. And look at that, we're only at 721K instead of the original one from Photoshop, which was 1.79 megs. A lot different. Now it's a little bit slower as well, so that might be part of it. And one of the things that you can do at this point is if you feel like things are a little bit fast, you can always adjust them. And one way to play is to hit the Enter key at any point on the timeline, and you'll be able to see what's happening. If you want to extend the length of the timeline, what you want to do is make sure that you don't have anything selected, and if you press F5, it will add keyframes to that point in the timeline, and you can just make things last a little bit longer. And if you want to remove time, you hit the Shift key and F5, and it will remove time from the timeline, which is really nice. You just have to be very aware of where your cursor currently is. And also, if you have something selected like this, then it will only add time to those layers, and that can be a little bit of a problem. So I hope you enjoyed this brief introduction to animating and making animated ads in Flash. We're going to be going back in some other tutorials and looking more at some of the drawing tools of Flash, because that's where Flash really, really shines. And thanks.